is stop motion? Stop motion is the process of photographing an object which you move periodically, so when you put the pictures together, it creates the illusion of movement. Now, the process of stop motion is famously incredibly tedious.
Oh my god. That's the whole thing.
As you need about 25 images to create 1 second of footage. But this style of animation really began in the silent movie era, where the film world was at its most experimental and where objects were being moved around one frame at a time. Oliver Postgate, however, changed the British children's television scene in the 60s and 70s with his famous stop-motion TV series. He was working for ITV as a stage manager when he was approached to pioneer a new animation style, where you would have illustrations on paper and then you'd move them with magnets underneath. It was there where he would meet Peter Furman, an artist who he would create all of his other films with. Together, they would create SmallFilms, a production company run out of the studio on Postgate's farm in Kent, which was made out of a barn and a converted pigsty. They started with Ivor the engine for ITV, using this paper and magnets method, which was later colorised by the BBC. Following that, they made Noggin the Nog, a fairy tale style series about whimsical Norse men going on large adventures. It was there he started moving on to stop motion animated puppetry, starting with the Pingwings and the Pogles from Pogles Wood. From there, he created his best known works, the Clangers and, of course, Bagpuss, which topped the BBC poll of the UK's favourite children's television programme in 1999. My first ever real introduction to stop motion was with Bagpuss, the saggy old fur cat who lived in a shop that didn't sell anything but fixed old things. He had a wide variety of friends, including some mice who sang together in high-pitched voices, which appealed to me in particular because I, at the time, also had a high-pitched voice that liked to sing along.
The marvellous mechanical mouse organ!
This was often one of the main appeals of SmallFilms creations. Their soundtracks were often easily mimicable by children after the programme had finished.
Once upon a time,
Oliver Postgate's voice itself, often narrating the programme,
not so long ago,
also had its own charm. It had a warm, cosy feel of a grandparent tucking you into bed and reading your story.
there was a little girl, and her name was Emily.
The homemade aspect of these characters and their set add to the charm and make them instantly accessible to a wide audience. Take the character design of the Clangers, for example. Joan Furman, Peter Furman's wife, knitted the pink bodies of the Clangers and dressed them in hand-sewn clothing. As well as being homemade, they were also original. There's a great story that Peter Furman told where he had designed Bagpuss originally as a marmalade cat.
But before that, I had to get the material made because I just could not find a stripe the right sort of thickness. So we got this company that would make me some stripe material. When the man finally came along, he said, "I'm afraid we had a slight mistake in the kiln. Something went wrong," and it turned out, and he brought out this great piece of pink and cream material. And it was a beautiful accident, really, because he is famous as the pink striped cat.
The stories that Postgate made into films had essentially left-wing ideals, with focuses on family and community, recycling and reusing materials, and fixing instead of throwing away. His political influence came from his father, Raymond Postgate, who co-wrote the Manifesto of the British Common People, and his grandfather, George Lansbury, the leader of the famous revolt against the cuts made by the council in Poplar. Postgate brought these beliefs into the stories he created. In Bagpuss, he sets it in a shop where they repair lost things for free, emphasis on reusing and fixing items rather than buying things just to throw them away. Or another example in Ivor the Engine, when this train's dream is to be part of the local choir, emphasising this need for community and a place to belong, and coming together and singing as a group, no matter your shape or size. And the choir even accommodate him by singing on the track so that Ivor can join. After his death, there was huge recognition on his influence and effect on British culture. Postgate's warm voice and wondrous world made a generation of childhoods across Britain and directly inspired people like Lauren Child, the creator of Charlie and Lola, and Andrew Davenport, creator of Teletubbies, In the Night Garden, and one of my personal favourites from my childhood, Brum. Postgate's work was incredibly influential on me as well, so I wanted to try and create a stop-motion story for myself. In Bagpuss, Postgate tells stories through folk songs, and I thought this would be a great starting off point to finding my story. I first looked into Nancy Kerr, a folk artist who I really like, and was also the daughter of Sandra Kerr, who, along with her partner John Faulkner, recorded the music for the original Bagpuss series. I then went on to the original Bagpuss soundtrack for inspiration, but found the song I Saw a Ship, and it fitted really well with the time limit, as well as being a story I could feasibly create, so I chose that to base my stop-motion film on. In my stop-motion story, I used several methods that Postgate used when he was creating his films. One of the methods that Postgate used was that he reduced the number of frames per second from 25 to 15, which meant that he could work a lot quicker and get more footage filmed in the day. This also meant that the films had a choppier feel, which added to the charm. Another technique he used was that he often didn't try to make a mouth that moved in the shape of the word. He would just make one that opened or shut, or he didn't make it move at all. Instead, he would articulate point with the arms or head of the puppet.
That way we managed to be fairly economical, but actually in the end, extremely powerful in what we had to say.
I used both of these techniques in my microfilm. Lastly, I handcrafted all of the sets and puppets for my stop-motion film to reflect Postgate's handmade feel to his films.
I saw a ship a-sailing on the sea, and oh, but it was laden with pretty things for thee.
There were comfits in the cabin and apples in the hold.
Were 24 white mice with chains around their necks.
The captain was a duck with a packet on his back.
And when the ship began to move, the captain said quack, quack. Quack, quack.